Sarah, you open your eyes and look around and see that you are in a particularly lavish office. You see that in front of you, there's a large hardwood desk and an Asian man sitting behind it. He has sharp features and well manicured black hair with a single gray strand that sort of left the coif and hanging down in front of his face. He's holding a real physical book in one hand, although it's turned over on the desk. He's clearly focused his attention somewhere else. You also scan and see that in the two corners of the room, hanging from the ceiling, are two mechanized turrets, gun turrets, that have dropped down from the ceiling and are both pointed directly at you. You get a sense of your own bearings. You feel sore, like you have been hurt in the past. You feel like you've sort of been injured and had time to recover. Mechanically, you are at full health right now. But you also, as you raise your eyes, see that you are no longer wearing your duster that you had saved up all that money for. You are now wearing a brown leather jacket with spikes on the shoulders. You also see that you are holding in your hands a shotgun. You are just holding it like in two hands, sort of down in front of you. And you see the strap of your SMG that must be hanging on your back. You feel the flat of a knife pressed against your inner boot. You feel the weight of your agent in your pocket, and you feel the bulge of your cash, although you can't tell how much you have without looking. You also feel a round shape clipped onto your belt. The other thing is you feel a little bit more jittery than you normally would. The man is looking up at you quizzically and just says, "Interesting. So I guess you may not have been lying about 13 then."
I don't lie about most things, but I'm definitely not lying about 13.
Certainly, certainly. Could you tell me more about your relationship with 13?
Right now, I don't think I can, but could you tell me more about your relationship with 13?
Oh, he's one of my employees, obviously. And as I was just saying, it seems you two have had a few run-ins, or at least that's what his reports have been telling me. And you see him reach under the frame of his desk, and you can give me a perception check to see what he does.
Okay. 13.
You just see that his hand goes under the desk for a moment and then comes back out.
Do I see any type of like branding or badges or anything else that indicates like who he is in terms of employer or the location that I'm in?
Sure. We'll use the same check. And even with that relatively low number, you see that a placard on his desk reads Tetsuo Shinji, VP of Acquisitions. From here, you can't see like any corporate branding. You can give me a education roll.
So 19.
With a 19, you recognize that this tailored suit that this man is wearing does have a little stitching on the lapel of two kanji characters. You recognize that these kanji characters are the symbol for a company called Tetsuo Ikibonogaku, or TET-IK.
Okay, what do I know about that company?
You know that they're a pharmaceutical company. You know that they have a large tower in the corporate zone of Night City. You know that they are primarily a Japanese company and that they are a family company.
So are you going to keep me here all day, or are you going to tell me what you want?
The man behind the desk says, "Oh yes, we were just discussing a potential business arrangement. I had just informed you some information that you seemed quite keen to hear, but you seem to have forgotten it all. Also, anytime you'd like to detect lies, that is a human perception check."
I guess I will do that right now.
Okay.
Oh God, I rolled a 1.
Roll again.
3. So that's what, -2, correct?
Yeah, net -2, so you wind up with an 11. So you have no sense of whether he's telling the truth or not. I'm going to roll human perception for him, actually, too.
Okay.
And he says, well, I suppose that solves one mystery. Why you felt the need to go back and see Dr. Laskin. Yes, as I was saying, I have a proposal of a business opportunity that I think would interest both of us. And I think you'll be well inclined to help me out. My understanding is that you are searching for your boyfriend Miles, yes?
That seems accurate, yes.
Well, what if I were to inform you that I know where he is? I simply could use your assistance in springing him from his little jail.
Well, I would love to believe that, but what proof do you have that he's there?
He looks at you when you say this, and he says, well, one, I can show you the internal company manifest where I have the whole itinerary of the operation that got Miles in his current predicament, and the reward that he was supposed to earn for following through on this mission. And two, if that's not enough, I could always remind you of a little more incentive, if that's necessary.
Well, I would love to see that itinerary if you have it.
He smiles and says, oh, yes, of course. And he presses a button on his desk. Pia, could you please bring in the Kuomori files? He waits, and a few moments later, the door opens behind you, and a young woman wearing her pajamas, actually, walks into the room holding a stack of papers. She glances at the man behind the desk first, sort of looking for approval, and then looks at you, sort of scared, as she walks past you. She sets the papers down on the desk, and he says, thank you, Pia. You can go home now. And don't worry, you will be well compensated for this evening's events. And she nods and starts walking out of the room. He then sifts through the stack of papers, pulls one off the top, slides it to the other side of the desk, and motions towards you.
Okay, so I pick up the paper.
You step forward to pick up the paper. As you are walking forward, the turrets are continuing to track your movement. You pick it up and read it. You see that the top of it is in Japanese that you can't read, but below it says Project Kuomori, and it says date 9/10/45, time 1 a.m., target Kaba, Kaba, location Biotechnica Tower, Night City, 43rd floor. And then it says contractors, and it has a list of 4 names, one of which is Miles.
Do I recognize any of the other names?
You do not know.
What is Tetsuo's reaction to me reading this?
You can give me a human perception check.
18.
You get the sense that he's sort of studying you to see what reaction you have. He is not clearly trying to distract you or something. You get the sense that if he wanted you dead, the turrets would have already shot you.
Well, it is all interesting and everything, but I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing with this.
He nods and says, originally, we had thought that simply having you out of the way would make this whole thing much simpler, but I think you've proven yourself enough of a nuisance to me this past week that perhaps you should be Biotechnica's nuisance instead. Your friend Miles is being held within the vault of Biotechnica's security within the tower. As you no doubt heard through your scrounging this last week, this Project Kuomori did not, shall we say, go entirely to plan. And now my understanding is that he, Miles, is being held by their security in order to be, shall we politely say, interrogated for more information about his employer.
His employer being you.
Yes. Now, I have a vested interest in him not disclosing that sort of information. I know that tomorrow night, the CEO of Biotechnica is coming in from Rome and presumably bringing some of his crack interrogators from headquarters to, end this situation. So it has now reached a point that I'm afraid I must turn to a slightly less prepared course of action. I am willing to, and he stops, thinks for a second, and he says, I am willing to offer you substantial compensation. Shall we say the rest of the completion bonus that Miles would have earned had Project Kuomori been successful. If you are able to join a team I put together to infiltrate the Biotechnica Tower and extract Miles from their clutches before he is taken by the corporate team tomorrow night. Once you have him out, you're free to do as you wish.
Tell me more about this team you have.
He smiles a small smile and says, well, as I'm sure you're aware, my position here as VP of Acquisitions leads me to regularly contract with, shall we say, a stable of interesting and unsavory types. Now, as I said, I have a strong vested interest in making sure that Biotechnica HQ does not acquire this asset. But I also understand that the bonds of community and love can sometimes be an even greater motivator than money. So you would be joining a team of yourself and 3 other contract agents, one of whom being 13. You would make your way over to the Biotechnica building, break into their secure vault, extract Miles, and then once the heat dies down, return here for payment.
I might be interested. Where can I find the details about this plan?
Well, I tend to leave the precise planning to the professionals that I hire. So once you accept the job, you'll join up with the rest of the team and come up with a plan together.
All right. Well, put me in contact with these agents and I'll see what I can do.
He nods and reaches under his desk again, and the door behind you slides open. A man wearing a leather jacket steps through the door. He has 2 things strapped across his back. Going one way is a large sniper rifle, and going the other way is a katana. He turns and bows towards the man behind the desk, and as he does, you see that in large numerals across his back is the letters XIII. The man turns to you. He looks like he's glaring at you, and then says, Mr. Tetsuo, has she agreed to join the job? And the man behind the desk gestures towards you and says, she'll have to answer that for herself.
Well, doesn't look like I have a better choice right now, so I guess I'll proceed as we figure out this plan.
They both nod at you, and the man behind the desk says, follow my associate here. He will lead you to the boardroom down the hall where your other 2 team members are already planning their part of the heist. And the man in the jacket turns to walk out the door.
All right. I cautiously get up, walking backwards from the turrets, and follow him.
Okay. The turrets track you the entire way out the door, but don't fire. This man leads you through this hallway and eventually into a corporate-style boardroom.
When I go out the door, is there any sign of struggle, like in the lobby area or anything of that nature?
There is not, no. You seem to be on some sort of like executive-style floor. There's offices running down the side that are smaller than his office, but all still relatively nice.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is like fancy wood paneling, art on the walls, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But no signs of struggle. It's also all dark. You walk by windows and see that there is like the harsh glow of neon from outside, but it's clearly nighttime. You walk to the end of the hallway and to the corner of the building and into a conference room where there's a large boardroom-style table, and the man you're following walks around behind us to join 2 other figures. He turns to you and says, all right, well, We've already been acquainted. This here is 12. This is 11. Behind the table, you see two other figures. One is a woman. She's like very stocky. She's wearing a black tank top, and you see that her arms have been totally replaced with like carbon fiber cybernetic implants.
Mhm.
That one is 12. And then also behind the table is a tall, lanky woman. Her eyes are completely white, like no pupils or irises. And you see that her hair, which is like long dreadlocks, some of the dreads are like black tubes of hair, but some of them are black wires, thick wires that come from the back of her head and then extend and jack into her spine. You see that on her sides, she has two small keyboards that are built into the sides of the jumpsuit that she's wearing. That is 11.
Okay. So are there any plans or schematics you guys have for me?
11 types something on the keyboard on her right side, and a digital representation of the Biotechnica tower pulls up on top of this boardroom table. You see that it is a massive skyscraper, over 100 stories. You see a little animation play. About a third of the way up the tower, a side of the wall highlights red, and then a tiny animation of an explosion plays. The virtual camera zooms in on that spot, and you see that hovering there is a aerodyne. It's all this sort of ice blue color in the hologram, but the aerodyne has some sort of like flickering effect to it that is different than the building. And you see it hover there for a few seconds, and then its door closes and it pulls off. You did not see anyone enter it. 11 looks to you and says, "So, this was the recording of Operation Kuomori. It was supposed to be easy. Get in, 42nd floor, grab the target, blow a hole in the side, jump into the waiting stealth aerodyne, and get out. And yet, no one entered the aerodyne. It had to pull away. Our driver reported as he pulled away that he saw your friend Miles being held by Biotechnic security and pulled deeper into the compound. The driver also reported that he saw at least one other runner dead on the floor. The other two members of the Kuomori team are unaccounted for. Now, I assume that Biotechnica is probably prepared for another such stunt. So we'll need to find a creative way into the building. We know that they've upped security in the last week since the Kuomori explosion." And she looks up expectantly at you and says, "Any ideas of how to breach a tower?"
Well, I guess we should figure out first how the hell these people got caught the first time they went in.
12, the woman with the black cyber arms, nods at you and says, "Yes, that's smart. 11, what have you found reviewing their files?" And 11 says, "I haven't had a chance to actually get into their building. You can't access their net remotely. But my best guess is that someone slipped up. Someone got spotted on the cameras, and security came down on top of them. It's happened to the best of teams, right?" 13 looks up and says, "Well, we have to be better than that. We can't just get caught, or we're going to be part of this same trip to Rome." 11 says, "Look, if you can find a way to get me into the building, I can hack into their net and disable the camera systems. We just need to find a way in the first place, and then it'll be up to you. But you won't have to worry about being tracked."
And what do we do from there? Once we're able to get in the building, do we just go straight to the vault, or?
13 says, "I mean, we have one target, right? Go in,
That we know
get
of.
the package, get out. I mean, our two priorities here are extraction and discretion. I would think that the most direct route possible is probably the best move."
I think I would have to agree. But the issue really becomes, how are we able to get in before the CEO and all of his entourage get in there first? Once he's landed, we're screwed. We need to get in there before he's here.
13 nods and says, well, did you see the message on your agent?
No, I haven't. I take out my agent. I take a look.
So you pull up your agent and look at your messages. You see that there are a series of different messages, but the most recent one is almost like one of those president's texts, like the nationwide emergency system sort of thing. There's a message from 9:17, meaning earlier tonight, and one from 9:15. I'm going to read them in order because they'll make sense in order. The one from 9:15, it's a warning about a citywide traffic slowdown from the upcoming visit of Biotechnica CEO Casper Hodson. Like they're warning that whatever motorcade comes in is going to slow down traffic. Then from earlier tonight, there's a correction message that says traffic will be normal tomorrow. Biotechnica CEO will arrive by Aerodyne. You also have 3 other text chains that are more recent than your last memories. The oldest is a series of texts with Miles, just purely from you to Miles asking, where are you, and never getting any response. Next most recent is a long text chain from you to yourself. You probably don't have time to read it in the moment right now, but it looks like messages that you have written to yourself describing what's happened to you this last week. And lastly, you have a series of messages between you and your friend Jessica. The most recent bits are from several days ago. It's one from Jessica saying that she was going to do an interview at TEDx. You asking if she was going to be okay. Her saying it would be fine. It's just a normal thing. And then you sending her messages over several days, ask if everything is okay, and never getting any response. So those are your quick scan of the agent.
Yeah. Can I look to see what the last 2 or 3 messages I sent myself are?
If you want to actually read the messages, you're going to need to take time to step away.
Okay.
You see that the most recent message to yourself was written 4 days ago.
Okay. So we have the schematics up of the building, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. What does the first floor layout look like?
11 zooms in on the first floor. You see that there's a reception desk and past it an elevator bank. At the very front, you see that there is a small security hut outside the front door because the tower itself is encircled by a squat concrete wall. But the main front of the building is very corporate skyscraper, right? Glass walled, large elevator banks inside. Depending on the day, might be full of people, that sort of thing.
Now, 11, where do we need to get you to be able to hack the system?
I just need a point inside, any point that can jack into the system. So, one on the first floor is as good as one on the 200th floor. But what's important is that I can stay there and that I'm not seen while I do it.
Is there any basement sections for the schematics?
She zooms out and zooms down. You see that there is a parking garage underneath the building. She says, well, there's probably not a jack in down there, but it could be an access point.
Okay. Where does the parking garage entrance and exit come from?
You see that there's a street ramp that it looks like people would just drive their cars down the street or hover above the street and turn in. There's 2 entrances. One is an actual physical ramp, and then one appears to be more of a circular hole that Aerodynes could hover over and then come down.
Okay. Well, it seems like the best way might be to try to enter from this parking garage, especially if he's coming from Aerodyne.
12 nods but says, well, I think if he's not going to use the public parking garage for his Aerodyne, right? He'll probably land on the pad on top of the building.
Yes, exactly. Everybody will be up there to welcome him, and maybe we'll be able to get in the base floor.
She says, are you thinking that we wait until he actually arrives tomorrow night to make this job? It seems to be cutting it a little bit close.
It's a good point. I don't know if we can wait that long, but maybe we wait until he gets there to actually leave.
They all look at you like that's an interesting idea, but they want to hear more.
So, CEO will be there, and obviously he'll have his full entourage, but presumably a lot of people will be on high alert or be trying to welcome him in. He's, the top dog coming from Rome. They want to show him that they're all attentive. So maybe when he's there, we'll be able to sort of make our way in. How close is the vault from that rooftop aerodyne port?
11 scans out and highlights a chunk of the building about halfway up and says, our best data has it somewhere in this part of the building, but I can't locate it precisely without getting into their systems.
Understandable. Well, I think the thing is that even with the CEO there, we'll need some type of distraction to both lock down his entourage and the security that's already on site. That's the issue, is we're going to have more people there when he's there, but it also allows us to create a bigger diversion with less people.
11 smiles and says, I could always just trip the fire alarm or something.
That's true. I don't know if that would necessarily work. Everything should probably go into lockdown at that point, and we still have to make our way out, which is going to be difficult when the elevators are shut down and all the doors are probably going to close. I don't know about that. Plus you have, the local fire department and private police force probably coming out at that point.
13 looks at you and says, right, so we need to do something that trips up their security, but isn't big enough to get NCPD involved, just lower the exposure. It needs to be something that can draw them the opposite way of wherever we're trying to go. And then we need to find our own way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we need to find our own way in, too.
That's true.
We've just said we're going through the garage, but what then, right?
How did Project Mari get in there in the first place?
11 types something on the keyboard on the left side. The hologram zooms back out and then zooms in on the roof. And you see that same flickering aerodyne that you saw earlier pulls up to the roof pad, lands, and 4 figures clad in black jump out. And the aerodyne pulls away. And she says, they went for an air insertion and extraction. So probably good that we're not trying to do that. As you
what's the round thing on my belt?
You look closer now, you see that it is a frag grenade.
Okay.
You also have the chance to check your pockets, and you see that your stack of money is down to only 27 euro. So as you're just sort of thinking, 12 suggests, we could always pose as their security, see if we can snag some of their uniforms and just walk our way in. She looks at you and says, what exactly are you best at? What is your set of skills here?
Well, I can do a little bit of everything, but...
So mechanically, you are best at talking, for the most part.
Okay. I'm always good at talking myself out of difficult situations, though obviously I haven't really done that very well right now, but that's generally what I'm good at. So yes, I think it would make the most sense for me to be the lead on getting us in there. I'm not sure if walking in the front door is necessarily the best option, but maybe going through that parking lot might make the most sense.
Right, but we're going to need to have some sort of credentials to get through, right? They're not just going to let 4 heavily armed strangers walk into their building.
Well, maybe we're able to create some type of issue with the building that would require, somebody to come and fix those issues, and those could be us.
13 looks at you and says, so you're proposing we pose as repairmen, plumbers, construction crew? And then you see 12's eyes light up a little bit, and she says, construction's been in and out of that building all week after the Kormori explosion. What's one more group of construction workers?
And we do have a lot of details on what went down there and when, so that's something to be able to work our way in despite not really having the credentials.
13 nods and says, all right, so we dress up as construction workers. Do we go in? They're only going to be there during the day, right? We go in tomorrow morning as construction workers, find a way to let 11 hack and find out where this vault exactly is, then it's sort of a question mark as to how we actually get in there. And then how do we get out?
Well, I think we've got to figure out first what type of construction are we posing as. Because depending on what we're doing, we might be able to get out our target a little bit easier.
Yep. So in the interest of making a podcast that's fun to listen to,
Yes.
we can skip through the precise heist planning
Yes.
and run this sort of Ocean's 11 style or whatever heist movie style, where effectively we will assume that you had a plan to deal with contingencies that come up.
Okay. Yeah.
What I'll have you do is make
Various saves.
make some checks to see if you've thought of this contingency.
Okay.
But what is the Cliff Notes version of the plan that you guys ultimately come up with? Let me know if you need help from the characters, and I will tell you what they would say.
Okay. So I think the Cliff Note version would be for us to, we get some unmarked van, we mark it up with some bullshit company, or we find some company that works there, which honestly shouldn't be too hard.
Tet Ik has enough resources that you can probably put together a reasonable disguise.
Yeah, exactly. And then we go there. So we try to get in the garage and basically explain to the guy that, we find somebody within the company that we know is presumably not going to be there that day because they're waiting for the CEO to come in. And nobody wants to deal with the random construction workers trying to gain access to the building. They just let them in. Then we go up to some completely random low-level floor so that we're away from people, away from where the vault could be, and try to find some empty office because, again, we get there relatively early, so we're able to jack in. We are under the guise that we are doing some tenant improvement work, replacing ceiling tiles because they're not up to code and they need to redo the finishes in their building. So,
sure. The last things I would need to know for the plan: what's the plan to get into the vault, or are you winging it to actually get in once you find out where it is?
I think we are winging it. What we're going to do is we, have our standard issue big gang boxes that we would work out of, and we're going to smuggle Miles and anyone else that we need to out in those gang boxes and into the van and try to get our way out. And obviously all our weapons will also be in those boxes because they won't be searched presumably on the way in. Mm-hmm. Be able to easily camouflage some of the materials. Yeah, so we're going to try to figure out where it is and then work our way up and try to gain access before the CEO is there and leave basically when he arrives.
Okay.
So that people are distracted and the security force is a little bit out of whack.
Well, he's supposed to get there in the evening. Sounds like you guys want to start in the early morning.
Yes. If we have to, we can try to, gain access in the morning and figure out where we need to go and then come back in the evening, depending on how it works out.
Okay.
That's our contingency plan.
Cool. So you guys put together this plan and you break for a few minutes before heading down to part of the parking garage that Tet Ik has. Tet Ik has a attached adjacent parking garage. 13 leads you back to what looks like a solid wall and then presses a combination on the concrete, and you see the wall slides open, and inside is a garage of potentially useful vehicles, including a white panel van. But you also have a chance now to take a break and read all the messages from yourself if you would like.
Okay.
So you have a moment to sit down and read the full set of messages from your past self. What do you do after that?
So I want to roll a perception check on the other people that are going to do the job with me, and to see if they are presumably going to try to kill me.
Sure, that's a human perception check.
Okay. 18.
You get the sense that all of these people are very business-minded and that they're probably not actively out to kill you, but also that they're going to prioritize themselves and the mission above probably your own health.
Okay.
Also, go ahead and as you've had time to settle down and figure things out, I'm going to need two things. First, give me your first luck check.
I rolled a 2.
Okay, so that's a fail. That's strike 1.
Oh, God.
Next time you need an 11. Second, roll a d10 for me.
Okay. We got a 4.
Okay, cool. Nothing happens. All right, so you have this reading on your compatriots. Everyone's working to gather intel, get the van ready, acquire garb for your disguises. Is there anything else you want to do overnight? I will say that being tired does also put a negative on your checks, and you're feeling a little bit sleepy.
All right. I would like to go to sleep.
You find a corner to lie down, grab some shut-eye, and as you are lying there in your sleep, brain shutting off, go ahead and give me another luck check.
Okay, I rolled a 10.
Okay, that's a pass. Need a 12 next time. Okay, so you drift off into a dreamless sleep, and the next thing you know, you are being gently shaken awake by 12, who's standing over you wearing coveralls, and you see that she's wearing work gloves that cover her hands.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it's 5:30, so time to get going.
All right, I go and get dressed into my disguise too.
Okay, are you gonna try and wear your armored jacket under it? If you try and wear your jacket under it, it will be harder to disguise, but you will have armor.
Yes, I think I'm going to try to wear it under it.
Okay, so I'm going to need another stealth check from you to try and hide your jacket.
Okay, so I have a 4 on the die.
So you have to decide if you use luck before you roll.
Okay, I wasn't going to use the luck, I guess.
Okay, so that's a total of
just 5.
Plus
or is it
dex is the
plus
relative
dex?
skill,
Okay,
so 11.
okay.
But that's still not a great roll. You put your coveralls on top, and as you do, 13 looks over at you and says, "They're going to see right through that."
Okay. I take my armor off and I put it into the gang box that we're bringing up.
Yeah, you see that by the van, you've loaded up a couple pallets of large boxes that at least presumably would be full of construction materials and stuff. But you've actually filled them full with weapons and now your armor. Are you going to put your weapons in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to put your knife in there or keep the knife?
I will keep the knife.
Okay. That's just tucked into your boot. I'm not going to make you roll stealth for that, but know that it might come up if you leave it in there.
Okay.
So everyone stores their gear inside these pallets. You load them into the back of the van. 13 gets into the driver's seat. You hop in shotgun. 11 and 12 ride in back with the pallets. And you drive out of the Tetsuo garage. You make a very short drive, just a couple of left turns, and you go essentially just across the street past the Biotechnica Tower. You pull up to the down ramp where one would pull into the Biotechnica parking garage. 13 slows down the van as you approach the entrance to the ramp. He looks out the window and then looks back and says, "They've got a checkpoint, checking passes at the front, even on this entrance."
Okay. Well, looks like we're going to have to go up to the checkpoint anyway.
You're the one who was going to take over talking, right? That was your thing?
Yep. Let's pull up. I've got this.
Okay. He nods and then pulls the car off the street and into the down ramp. There's the classic, railroad sign bar down, and you are stopped next to a little security kiosk on your left where there is a guard wearing elaborate and clearly quite expensive synthetic armor covered in hard plastic casing. And they have a full face helmet on with a voice modulator. Mm-hmm. And they just say, "Identification, please."
Hi, we're here for the 4th floor finishes renovation project. I talked to, I think it was Tim from Special Projects.
Go ahead and give me a persuasion roll.
Oh no, I rolled another 1. So I get an 8.
The guard looks at you, tilts their head to their side and says, "There's no Tim in Special Projects." Go ahead and give me a luck check as well.
I got a 9.
Strike 2, my guy. You were saying?
Maybe it's not Tim in Special Projects. It might be my GC. Let me grab out my my emails right here. I pull out my agent real quick and I try to look up who is in special projects at the company.
You have no way to do that because there is no internet.
Oh, okay.
But I won't hold you to that in canon. What would you like to do instead?
So I still pull out my agent to kind of fumble through and look through my contacts that don't exist. Oh, so Tim is from the general contractor. I guess I'm looking for somebody for special projects. You know, the issue is that we're on a really tight schedule because the CEO is coming tonight. We're just trying to get in there and redo some finishes before he gets here because the whole thing is a mess.
Give me another persuasion check. I'm going to put you at a -2 total between your like.
Yeah, I rolled a 2, so I get a 10 total.
The guard shakes his head. He doesn't seem to be buying it, and he says, "You know, they used to at least try when they were trying to rob you and get inside. Like, this is just pretty embarrassing." And you see him start reaching towards a large button on the table in front of him. Suddenly you see just whip fast 13 pulls out a small SMG from inside his coveralls and is going to attempt to shoot this guy.
Okay, well, wait a second here. No one's trying to rob anyone. I'm just trying to get in here and do the work that we're supposed to do. Now,
you start saying this and then are cut off by the sound of silenced gunfire as this guard is just struck in the head and falls over forward onto the desk. And I'm going to roll something for you. You hear a click on the desk and then sort of faintly through like a speaker. "Garage Bay Station, come in. Garage Bay Station."
Okay, I'm going to go run over to the desk and I do my best attempt to impersonate the guard from the little time that I talked to him.
Okay.
And I will use my luck point on this roll.
I'll let you spend 2 luck points to get +2 on the roll, if you would like.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay, so this is going to be hard. I'm not going to apply like a negative modifier, but it will be very hard to do.
A difficult one to do, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll persuasion with that +2.
It is a 6 on the die.
So 6 plus 12 is 18. This voice through the intercom goes, "Garage Station, you're sounding a little unwell there. Are you feeling under the weather?"
Yeah, I'm really sorry, but the connections have been really off lately. There's some construction workers here who are apparently going to take a look at it. So if you could just swipe them up, they don't have their credentials on them, but I've checked with special projects and they're all good.
Well, I don't have any record of a contractor coming up. Where did they say they were going to go work?
I think it's the 5th floor networking area. I mean, they don't need access to the server room, but just the networking spots outside.
Well, why don't you swipe them up, and then why don't you take a break up in the break room on 62? You sound like you're pretty under the weather. I'll send someone else to come down, take over the rest of this shift.
Sounds good. Thank you, man.
And the line clicks. You are able to pretty easily identify the switch that raises the gate.
All right. And then we also are going to grab the body and put it in the van.
Okay. There is like blood splattered in the terminal.
Okay. I don't think we have enough time to clean it up, but at least he will be disappeared.
You've acquired 1 body.
Yes. Does he have any weapons on him?
He does. He has an assault rifle and a pistol.
We'll throw those in with the rest of the weapons.
Okay. You got it.
We got some more.
You gradually pull around. 13 grabs a parking spot, looks to you and says, "I thought you said you were competent. This has pretty much only gone badly."
Hey, we're only going up from here. Come on. We got this.
Give me a persuasion check. See if you can convince him that you do, in fact, got this.
Oh, my God. I rolled another 1. Okay, so it's only a 0. So that's 10 total.
Okay. It is unclear whether you have convinced him that you have got this.
I mean, at this point, I don't think he has much of a choice but to run with me. It's fine. All right, so we get into the garage, and now we're packing up all our stuff to go.
Yep, you've parked, you've got your disguises on, you've unloaded your pallets. I assume you're leaving this body in the back of the van.
Yes.
And you make your way over to an elevator. There was already like a guard at the front gate, so there's not a separate guard at the elevator bank.
Also, did the guard have any type of like badge or key or anything on him?
They did, yes. You were able to grab the guard's key card at the same time you picked up his guns. So you've got that. You've made your way over to the elevator. There are 125 floors. You see it goes from -6 to +125. You were on floor -4.
And what was the block that we thought the vault was on? Was that like 60-ish?
It was a range in the middle of the tower. You ask this, and 11 tells you that it's somewhere between 50 and 70.
So I say we start on the 40th floor and then try to hack into their net and figure out where exactly this vault is.
Okay, you all load onto the elevator and trundle up to the 40th floor. You step out into a relatively nice reception area. You see that there's a empty front desk. There's large windows out overlooking the city, and on the front of the desk it says Biotechnica R&D. And then you see that there's clearly doors behind the desk into private areas.
Are there any other hallways that are going off of that desk, or is it just back into the private areas?
There is one hallway leading off to the right.
What is down the hallway? Can I see anything, or is it just like another doorway at the end?
You can tell that there's one doorway at the end of the hallway and two on the right-hand side. I'm going to need either a perception check to find out more from here, or you can walk closer.
Okay. 13.
You can tell that at least the door at the end of the hallway seems to open into a conference room.
I say we go into the conference room.
You make your way down. You see that those two doors on the right were bathrooms, and you go into this empty conference room. As you're walking past the front desk, you see a blue hologram figure flicker into place for a second as you pass some sort of predefined distance threshold, but then as you continue to walk away, it flickers back out of existence. And you make it to this conference room. It's not locked or anything. It just has a nice corner view of downtown Night City. 11 says, "All right, I'll get hooked into the wall here. You guys need to watch the door." And she pulls one of the cables out of the back of her head and jacks it into a socket in the wall. I'm going to roll an interface check for her to see how well she can hack. Yep, she's fully jacked in. You see that her eyes are still open and are flickering about like they're looking at things, but there's nothing in front of her to look at.
So while this is going on, I'm keeping watch while the others are pretending to work.
Sure. What are you guys going to try and pretend to fix?
We are pretending to be fixing the wiring that is going through the ceiling.
Okay. You are able to hang out in this area. Give me a perception check.
So I have a 14.
You spot there is a figure walking down the hallway towards you, pushing a janitor cart.
Okay.
Eventually, this janitor gets up to you and is moving to walk into the room that you're in.
I'm going to open the door and talk to him.
He says, "Oh, hey there, don't mind, I just gotta push past you there. Gotta clean all the rooms on 40.
Hey, sorry, we're just finishing up some work here. Could you just come back in 20 minutes or so? We should be wrapped up pretty soon.
Give me a persuasion check for this janitor. This will not be hard.
Okay, I have what is that, a 26 for persuasion? When it counts.
He nods and says, "Oh yeah, there. I get how it is. All us blue collar folks gotta stick together there. Just leave the door open when you're done. I'll come check by, but go ahead, take your time. I get it." And turns around and toddles off, pushing the janitor cart in front of him. You eventually hear the noise of a door opening and closing, and then the chunk of an electronic lock.
11 is still accessing the info right now.
Yes.
I'm going to go explore the front reception desk.
Do you want to walk up to it so the hologram activates?
Yes, exactly.
You walk up to it, and the flickering blue figure of a young man wearing a crisp, tailored suit appears. And he says, "Hello, welcome to Biotechnica's Research and Development. How may I assist you?"
What exactly are the projects that are going on in this research and development right now?
I'm afraid that most of our projects are internally classified, but I can assure you, Biotechnica is working to make the latest and greatest in new pharmaceuticals. Biotechnica, we help keep the world healthy.
Okay. I go back to check on 11.
I'm going to roll another check for her. Sorry, this is taking a decent number of checks because she's trying to hack a corporate system, and this is actually like potentially literally deadly. So she's looking calm and composed, but is still typing away. She may be at this for a little while. Do you want me to just abstract it to if someone comes or if she finishes, we jump to that point?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So give me a perception check just for like your observing for the foreseeable future.
19.
Awesome. About 15 minutes later, she lets out a loud gasp and then reaches behind her and unplugs from the walls and says, "All right, I got it. I've got the full schematics." She holds out her palm, and you see that there's a circular metal disc on it, and from the disc projects that same holographic projection of the tower. You see that like highlighted 55 through 60 is the main security compound, and then you see that the prison cells are located on floor 56.
Well, it looks like that's where we're going to have to head right now because they're going to figure out pretty soon that that guard wasn't just a little bit sick.
They all nod, pack up everything in the room, and start heading with you back to the elevator. As you are about to enter the elevator, you hear the boop, boop, boop of an alarm going off. And go ahead and give me a luck check.
11. And then, what is it, plus 5,
so it's plus
right?
5,
So 16.
So you're good. I was like, that's strike 3, friendo. But no, you're still in it. You feel this pressure at the back of your head, but it gradually recedes. You're now standing here on the 40th floor in front of the elevator. You can't tell if it's like locked down or not, but you do hear the sound of this alarm going off.
I think we have to go up, right?
13 says, "They presumably went down, found the empty station, found the bloodstains, but they probably haven't found the body. So they probably know something's up, but don't know where we are. Seems like if we want to make our way out, we have to move fast."
I agree. 11, is there any way that we can throw them off our scent using the access to the net?
She says, "I mean, possibly. I mean, I joked about the fire alarm earlier, but I did see the different alarm sensors in there. Or I could try and shut off the alarm, but I don't know if that'll do any good. It's probably already alerted everyone, right?"
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll have to make our way out the hard way.
So what do you set the elevator to?
I think we're going to need to go to 55 and then work our way up.
They nod, you hit the button, and the elevator does not move.
Is the door still open or is it closed?
It is still open.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to find some other way to get up there. 11, do you have any access to the elevator systems through the net?
11 nods, and she says, "Yes, and I also have the map to find another route." She pulls up the schematic of the building, and it shows that there are stairs, but that the stairs for this level are behind those locked doors, like they're in the labs. She says, "So we can either try and make it through these doors, or I can go back to that boardroom, jack in again, and we can, just wait. That might take a while."
Okay. I think we might have to split up here and have me and 13 go up, and 11, you can stay here, jack in, and then once we're able to extract our target, then you can activate the elevators and we can get ourselves down together to the exit vehicle.
Give me a persuasion check to convince her, because I think she's probably worried that, like, she's just getting left behind, right?
Yep. I rolled another 1. So that's a -3. So that ends up being a 6.
So she shakes her head and says, "No, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it all as one group."
All right. It looks like we're all going through the lab then.
All right. And so you walk up to these doors to the lab. They are clearly locked in some way. 11 says, "There's a chance that I can get these open." and she's going to make a basic tech roll. That is a 15. She pulls off a panel on the key reader and tries to mess with the electronics inside. The machine just like beeps, flashes red, and then resumes showing the regular like scan panel. She says, no good.
Okay. I think we're going to have to pry this thing open.
I'm going to roll for 13 real quick.
Okay.
As you're going to pry it open, 13 thinks for a second and then says, do we have any sort of card or something?
Oh, I have this key card here. Let's try that real quick.
You reach forward and swipe it, and the door slides open.
All right, I guess they haven't figured out to deactivate his card despite the fact that he's missing. Let's keep going through this lab.
You step inside and see that it is a series of very like clinical looking labs, microscopes and mass spectrometers, like things that you would use for drug research. You make your way towards the stairs following the directions of the schematics that 11 has. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
I have an 18.
You hear the faint hooting of chimp sounds that's getting slightly louder. You peek your head around the corner and see that in order to get to the stairs, like the door to the stairs marked with the red exit sign, you're going to need to pass by a large window to your right into a lab where you see that there's a bunch of chimps in cages, like clearly test animals. And then there's a scientist in there in a lab coat. She's working on them, but she might spot you if you walk through.
Okay.
Also, you guys are still like dragging your cart
Yeah.
full of stuff, right?
Cart full of weapons, yeah. Okay, then. So is there any route that goes around where the chimpanzee lady is?
Unfortunately not. There is like another lab to the left, but it looks like it's locked. There's only one hallway from like where you're at to the stairs. The chimp lab is to the right of that hallway. There's another closed lab to the left. So in theory, if you made it into the lab to the left, you could like be slightly farther away and it would be easier to sneak past.
Is the alarm going off in the lab too?
You can sort of hear the muted noise,
Okay.
but there's not like speakers in here that are pounding it out. The researcher in there appears to be wearing like over-ear headphones.
I think we just keep going past.
Not trying to be stealthy, you're just trying to like play it cool, play up your persona.
Yeah, exactly. Just walk by as if nothing is wrong and that we're just going to work on another lab.
Okay. I'm going to roll a check to see how lucky you are if she notices you, and then we'll play it from there.
Okay.
You walk by, you're just like real casual, like walk your way over towards the stairs, and it gives you a shock for a second when this woman like turns almost like she's going to look towards you and then stops and looks the other way, and is just focused completely on the chimps on the back wall. And you guys are able to make it over to the stairs. You can push the door open. You're now in a stairwell.
All right. Looks like we got through the lab, but I don't think we can take all this material up with us. I think the gig might be a little done.
12 shakes her head and says, yeah, I don't think we're going to be carrying these carts up onto the guard floors and convincing them we're repair people.
Yeah. So we go in and I grabbed the machine gun that we took off of the guard.
Okay. It does 5d6 damage. It also has an expensive looking electronic scope on the top that gives you +1 to your reflex when you're shooting it.
Cool. I have the knife on me, right?
Yep. And then your shotgun and SMG and pistol are all in there. There's also a very heavy pistol that you took from the security guard.
Okay. I will take my pistol then, and I think I will leave the rest.
All right. Everyone grabs out their own gear. Give me a perception check as people are grabbing their gear.
My God, these ones. All right, I have a perception of 2.
Cool, yeah, people are all grabbing their gear. You see that at the end, left over is no one has grabbed your SMG or your shotgun or the guard's pistol.
I want to put on the armor that I had thrown in there.
Yep, you've got your leather jacket back on. You see as you put it on that on the back it has an embroidered cyber arm that's crossed with a rifle.
And now I think we're going to head up the stairs.
All right, so you dump your cart. You start heading up the stairs. Are you going to go straight to 56 or are you going to 55?
think we're going to go straight to 56.
All right. As the tension builds and you're climbing these stairs, give me another luck check.
That's a 5.
5 plus 5 is 10. That's strike 3, my friend.
Oh, no.
And you feel this pressure mount in the back of your head, feel a light tingling pain, close your eyes for a second, and black out.